gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of X-Men 2, or X2, or X-Men 2, X-Men United, the second film in the X-Men trilogy, and the second film in the X-Men film series. And the second of the four directed by Bryan Singer. He would then take an 11-year break, and then come back for Days of Future Past in 2014. I mean, yeah, it was made in 2013, maybe 12 as well, but for release in 2014. Okay, so X2 pretty much follows up not too long after X1 finishes, with Wolverine trying to find the Alkali Bake lab and not really finding it to start with. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler, played by Alan Cumming, attempts an assassination on the President of the United States. He's under some sort of drug thing, some sort of control, but he's not really in control of his situation until he's shot in the arm by a security guy and manages to snap out and then escapes. He drops the knife with that he was about to use with the tag on it, and this soon starts up a new political conflict, whether about these mutants and the fears, and it also allows William Stryker, played by Brian Cox, to go out and attack the X Mansion. He's also able to start up his plan to capture Charles Xavier and have him enter his homemade Cerebro that he's gotten information from Magneto about. Again, thanks to the drips in the neck. Storm and Jean go off to find Nightcrawler, whilst Charles and Scott go and whilst Charles and Cyclops go and see Magneto, but then are captured. Magneto does escape thanks to Mystique's help, with Mystique's help later down the line, and there's some really good stuff with Mystique when she goes around investigating Stryker after a return of her disguised as Senator Kelly from the last film, as we saw, and also her going around trying to get, and her finding out about the lab and everything, and eventually having to go again, and eventually having to get Magneto out so that they can work together to stop Stryker. And there's a really great bit where she's in the office, she's looking at all the information, and then Lady Deathstroke's coming in, and then so she has to transform into one of the janitors to avoid being caught. And a similar scene will happen in Days of Future Past, and I thought that was really cool in both scenes. So yeah, some great stuff. Meanwhile, the mansion is attacked with Wolverine in tow, and we get some really great Wolverine going on a rampage moments where he's defending the school, attacking the attackers, and trying to rescue as many people as he can. Colossus manages to get the kids out, so that's some great stuff with him. Yeah, there'll be more stuff with him later down the line, but it's a great first appearance for him. Also, we get Pyro in this film, who's the guy who can manipulate fire. And he's proving to be a pretty troublesome character. Although he's the ally at the protagonist earlier on, he then turns villain later on down the line. Thankfully, Wolverine, Pyro, Rogue, and Iceman are able to escape the mansion, and Stryker only gets 6 kids kidnapped, which get rescued by Storm and Nightcrawler later anyway. And eventually they go to Boston and eventually meet Bobby's family, but his brother calls the police on them, so they have to be rescued by Storm and Jean via a bit just beforehand where Pyro shows off his darker side and Wolverine gets out for the count for a little bit. I do like the bit where he looks at the cop who shot him in the head, and the cop puts his gun, and then he sees Wolverine standing with not really the wound, but where it had gone, and the bit of the blood, and he's kind of amazed. And that was good. One bit I wasn't so keen on was the bit where the Quinjet got shot down by 2 RAF pilots. Not RAF, that's us Brits. Fighter pilots. Yeah, I didn't think that was entirely necessary, apart from maybe showing off Jean's power, but I think maybe some problem with the jets could have just landed them in the forest to meet up with Magneto and Mystique, and they eventually devised a plan to get to gets to Alkali Lake and investigates. And also another thing that's I'm kind of questioning why they had it in the first place scene, this one less for a narrative context, is when Jean and Wolverine have basically had a moment together and they've kissed. And then shortly afterwards, Jean supposedly comes into Wolverine's tent and attempts to get it on with him. However, it turns out it's Mystique for some reason. And then she has this moment where she changes into the female characters at that point. Jean, Rogue, and Storm then Rogue, which is a bit weird. And then also Stryker for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why she does this. Did she just want to have sex with Wolverine? Which, to be fair, I'm not against. By the way, it might have been interesting. But yeah, it's a bit strange that there isn't really much contextual reason for her to want to kiss Wolverine, apart from maybe she finds him attractive as well, and she just wants to get on. But yeah, weird. But then we get to the But then we move to Alkali Lake, and things get exciting as Mystique infiltrates the base, and then soon Magneto and the X-Men go in and try to rescue Professor Xavier, rescue Scott, rescue the kids. Magneto and Mystique then try to have Stryker's son kill all the humans after Stryker tries to get him to kill all the mutants via Xavier. Eventually, Storm is able to stop Stryker's son from killing either side, and Magneto and Mystique escape with Pyro, not Pyro, that's the detective Pyro. Wolverine kills, he mortally wounds Stryker, who's then chained up by Magneto, he will then get drowned as the lake floods. The villains escape, but the heroes manage to get out alive, although Iceman and Rogue don't go into the base, but they do get the ship, the Quinjet, there we go, there to rescue them at the end, although there isn't much power, possibly due to what happened earlier with the fighter jets. But Jean is able to get it into the air and get it sent away. However, she has to be outside and gets swept by the water. Eventually, the mutants have to warn the president about what's happening and tell him everything, and just say, and just try to convince him to try and perhaps make a world where both sides of humanity can work and live and work together to make a better future. Otherwise, they'll be repeating the same mistakes, making the mistakes of the past. And it wraps up nicely shortly after that, with a tease for the next film at the very end, alongside the speech from the first film. So, X-Men 2, this is a really epic installment, some really great stuff. Visual effects this time around are a lot better, and they've dated much more nicely. The script is also more polished. There's a bit more at stake, a bit more going on this time round. Quite a bit more action for the action fans. Some more characters that are really great. Alan Cumming's really good as Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler. We've also got Brian Cox brilliantly as William Stryker. He's really great. And also a couple other newcomers, but I can't remember all the names. Deathstroke's a great character in the fight scenes, although not so much in other scenes. But she proves herself to be a formidable threat. As does Pyro when he goes off with Mystique and Magneto. I keep getting my words mixed up. Sorry about that, but he proves to be a good character, and how he kind of is an anti-hero earlier on, before going full-on villain at the very end and in the next film. And also the new president of the president, and also the president of the United States has a few good scenes. And it's good to see Colossus get into action quite well, and also Kitty Pryde, who's gonna have a bit more active involvement in the next film, has a few good moments too. Even being able to get the file for Professor Xavier to give to the president at the very end that Stryker had. So yeah, X-Men 2's got some really good stuff. There's a few narrative stuff I'm not so keen on. I don't really know why they needed the stuff with the fighter planes. I don't know, I just didn't think that was that necessary. And the weird romantic moment between Wolverine and Mystique was weird. Although I do really like Mystique getting a bit more involvement here, and also some points she does actually she does actually talk, and she doesn't have this sort of masculine voice done alongside the normal female voice of the character in some places. it does sound like she is talking normally, as opposed to having some sort of additional deep male voice alongside it at points, like in the first film. There are a few occasions of that though, but yeah, it's good to see her do that. And also, she also gets to disguise herself in a human form, possibly her normal human form. But then again, the next film has her in her normal human form. So this could be some sort of disguise. It's actually kind of does remind me a lot of Jennifer Lawrence, who will take over the mantle of Mystique in First Class. But yeah, but when she's disguised as the human, she has some really good moments with the security guard. And this time, this does have narrative importance, unlike the bit with Wolverine. She actually has some narrative moments there. And it's interesting to know that the guard is having a Velcro buckle instead of a metal, because he can't have metal in his workplace. He's got to have Velcro. Hence the plastic stuff. That's all that place. And it's great that she is able to pretty much drug him so she can just stab some metal into his blood, so that Magneto can then get it out of his blood, killing him in the process. But hey, he was a dick anyway, to be honest. As for the characters from the first film getting development, yeah, some really great stuff. Some amazing acting from Hugh Jackman, as well as Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. Also got some great acting from Halle Berry, Frankie Jemison, and James Marsden, and Anna Paquin. And also Sean Ashmore as Bobby, aka Iceman. He gets a few more good stuff, great stuff to do. And like I said, Rebecca Romaine Stamos also gets some great stuff to do as Mystique. But I think the best character is Stryker. He is a great villain, and possibly the best villain of the series after Magneto. Although Professor Trask from Days of Future Past is another great villain. But yeah, Stryker's great, and Cox does a brilliant job with him. And as we go through the film, all of this piece of information starts making sense, and it's pieced together as part of his plan, and it makes a lot of sense, and that's really well done and really well handled. So, X-Men 2, I think this is a great film, great spectacle, great story, great characters. There's just a few bits of the film that I didn't think were that necessary, but on the whole, it's a X-Men 2 or X2 brilliant film, and a worthy successor to the first film. So I'm going to be giving this film a 9 out of 10. Yep, brilliant, spectacular, and all around a great time, and certainly a brilliant sequel. People say sequels aren't as good as the original. Definitely give this film a watch. I mean, yeah, it doesn't always apply, but certainly for the X-Men trilogy, the second film is better than the first. Although the first one was necessary how it was to be how it was, because it was just introducing the world and the characters. It needed something small to start with before we can go much bigger in the following two films. And with talks of a human versus mutant war, the stakes have been raised even higher, despite the X-Men trying to convince the president otherwise. So we'll be checking out how everything goes down in X-Men The Last Stand, the third film of the series. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Meanwhile, Nightshade, Night Silver, no. Nightcrawler. And even in being able to get the file Professor Xavier gives the president at the very end, to give to the press. Didn't have that problem in the last film. True, they weren't really paying attention to the. Okay, I'll cut that out. That missed my thing. As for the character developments from the first, and with the talks of a human versus mutant war, the stakes have never been higher than ever. The stakes have been.